Okay, so this is chapter 10, and I've brought up the ebook. So if you go into Cengage and click on the Mind Tap link and click on this booklet right here to give you the link to the electronic version of the book. So say that you go out of town, you forget your book or something, then you can always go this route. So the first thing here is talking about the basic guidelines for commas, and it's going to go into, let's see if I can click this next page here. Okay, a series. This is when you are talking about equally ranked words such as June, July, August. And if you look at the first example there, our favorite beachside restaurant is open only in June, July, and August. This is a series of words, and each one has a comma, and then you have the word and, your conjunction that's actually joining the series. Okay. The next thing that you need to look at is the direct address. If you're directly addressing someone by their name, such as here, Britt, comma, do you have our client's email address? So this is at the beginning of a sentence. This one here is at in the middle of a sentence. Are you, members of the class of 2014, ready to go out and take on the world? So you see that one's in the middle of the sentence, and then this one is at the end, comma, sir. So you're directly addressing someone. Okay. The next part is the parenthetical expressions, and these actually interrupt the flow of a sentence. For instance, if I was to say, on the other hand, we may not have enough job candidates to begin interviewing. So on the other hand would be non-essential. It interrupts the flow, so I need to set it off with a comma. So if you look at these examples here, all of these are parenthetical expressions. Okay. The first one here, the word yes, there is a parenthetical expression. Yes, comma, I will be voting in the presidential primary. Without a doubt, no doubt. So look for those types of words there. The next one is the date and time zones. And in this case, we are looking at the comma in between a date. Notice this first one here, on March 2nd, we open for business. There's no comma needed for what they consider one element, March 2. Okay. The next one is a full, complete date. Okay, so we set off the second element, March 2nd, comma, 2012, comma. Okay. Same thing with the third one here. On Friday, comma, March 2nd, comma, 2012, comma, Yelp started selling its stock to the public. Okay, so make sure you know how to set off dates with commas. Okay. The next one here is addresses and geographical items. This is if when addresses are written in sentence form, you're going to still separate the parts of the address with commas. Do not, however, place a comma between the city and zip code. Okay, so let's go down here. Here is the sentence right here. Okay, so please send a copy of your passport to Edward Pegaza, comma, Classic Journeys, comma, his address, comma, suite number, comma, La Jolla, comma, California, 92037. So again, we don't put a comma between the city and the zip code. So make sure that you know how to do that. The next one here is an appositive. Remember, they describe or rename preceding nouns or pronouns. And so in this case, we're going to have to identify what those are. So when an appositive is needed to identify the noun or pronoun referred to earlier in the sentence, do not set it off with commas. So let's look at this one first. Nicole Dawes, comma, the AT&T U-verse representative, comma, is here. The appositive adds non-essential information, but commas are setting it off on both sides. So we could say Nicole Dawes is here. So in this case, it's not essential, but it's being set off by commas. Okay, but notice down here, when again the appositive is needed to identify the noun or pronoun referred to earlier in the sentence, do not set it off with commas. The AT&T U-verse sales representative Nicole Dawes is here to see you. So in this case, the appositive is needed to identify which sales representative has arrived. Therefore, no commas are used. Special guidelines for using commas. This is on page 253 in your book. The first one is independent adjectives. So if you're describing something and you're using two adjectives side by side, then you need to separate them with commas. So for instance, we are looking for an industrious, ambitious person to hire. Industrious and ambitious are two independent adjectives, so they need to be separated by a comma. With the verb to means also. Okay, if you believe in this cause to, comma, consider making a donation. And in this case, it's at the end of a clause. Many celebrities support our cause too. In this case, it's at the end of a sentence, okay, not at the end of a clause, okay. The next part here, introductory verbal phrases, and this is dependent clauses that precede the independent clause. To apply for the scholarship, comma, you must have 3 layers of communication. So in this case, to apply for the scholarship is leaving you hanging. It is not giving you the full sentence here, so you have to put a comma there. You must have 3 letters of recommendation is a complete sentence by itself. Just this part right here is a sentence by itself, okay? So this part here is an introductory verbal phrase, and it has to be separated by a comma from the independent clause. Okay? The next part is your prepositional phrases, and this is on page 253 also. Okay, one or more introductory prepositional phrases totaling 4 more words should be followed by a comma. On the first Tuesday of each month, comma, museum admission is free. The word on is a preposition. The word on the first Tuesday of each month is a prepositional phrase. During is a preposition. During the winter months is a prepositional phrase. So again, it's kind of like on the first Tuesday of each month, it's still kind of leaving you hanging, kind of like an introductory phrase. You still have to separate it with a comma. Prepositional phrases and other positions do not require commas when they are essential and do not interrupt the flow of the sentence. So you can read those examples there. Independent clauses. When a coordinating conjunction joins independent clauses, use a comma before the coordinating conjunction. So, coordinating conjunction here is the word but. On each side of this word is an independent clause, which means that Microsoft is aggressively pursuing the smartphone market. Is a complete sentence by itself. It's having a hard time catching up with Google and Apple is a complete thought and a complete sentence because you have a subject and a verb in both of those. We are joining 2 independent clauses with a comma and a conjunction. The second one here, remember if it's 13 words or less, then you do not have to have a comma, even though you have a conjunction here. Introductory clauses. Dependent clauses that precede independent clauses are followed by commas. When you have finished, comma, please turn out the lights and lock the door. When you have finished, again, it's kind of leaving you hanging. Okay, what do you want me to do when I'm finished? If you have any questions, okay, please call me. Because we are on email and texting, comma, okay, so when, if, because, words like this are in part of the introductory clause, and it has to be separated by a comma from the independent clause. Okay, terminal dependent clauses is the opposite, with the introductory clause kind of flipped at the back of the sentence. There's the word when, if, and because. It's just at the end of the sentence. If it's flipped at the end of the sentence, then there's no comma needed. That's what a terminal dependent clause is. Non-essential clauses. This is the last part that I'm going to go over. I don't think you have anything in level 3 that's in your reinforcements this week, but you may want to read over it just to be sure. Use commas to set off non-essential clauses. These are types of clauses used parenthetically or supply information unneeded for the grammatical completion of a sentence. Okay, workplace accidents, as you will surely agree, must be avoided if at all possible. So this is kind of non-essential. It's just kind of thrown in there. You really don't need it to complete the thought of that sentence. So when you have phrases like that, it's just stuck in there. Set those off by commas. Okay, so I'm going to go over the worksheet 10 for commas after this, and if you have any questions, let me know.